The development of both Meyerhold's theater and biomechanics was cut short violently by the increasing Stalinization of Soviet society, which resulted in the regimentation of artistic thought and the normative dogma of socialist realism. His theater was closed in 1938. In 1939, Meyerhold himself was arrested, and after a sham trial, executed in 1940. For a long time, biomechanics was strictly taboo. In this historic series of photographs, Nikolai Kustov demonstrates the etude, shooting from the bow. During the 1930s, Kustov was an actor and the instructor for biomechanics at the Meyerhold State Theater. Lee Strasberg brought these photographs back to the United States after a trip to Moscow in 1934. Since then, there have been a number of attempts in Western Europe and the United States to reconstruct biomechanics from photographs and historical materials. But none of these has been able to base itself on an immediate, practical transmission of Meyerhold's system. In the Soviet Union itself, it was only in the 1970s that Nikolai Kustov could pass his understanding and practical knowledge on to a group of young actors at Moscow's Theater of Satire. One of these actors was Gennady Bogdanov.
For me, this way of working was entirely unaccustomed. I didn't realize immediately that this is an extremely interesting system. When I began working at the theater, after I had finished theater school, Kustov was already there. And when I attended his class for the first time, it was called plastic training at our theater. I began initially to work in the way that I was used to doing from school.
When did you discover that biomechanics is more than a system for training actors?
I can tell you that exactly now. I've thought about it a lot. When, finally, I really internalized the principles of biomechanics. And I can now say that this happened when I truly came to a deep understanding of the essence of the biomechanical etudes. We spent most of our time learning the etudes, memorizing them. For us, they were new, unfamiliar material. Initially, we didn't know how to deal with them. Some of the actors had trouble coordinating the movements or meeting the physical demands. It was only when we had gained a command of the etudes, of their structure and choreography, that we began gradually to understand the real principles of biomechanics, отказ, посыл, тормоз, more deeply. This required great efforts and daily training.
Потому что это требует неимоверных усилий и, в общем, каждодневной тренировки.
Gennady Bogdanov demonstrates the etude, shooting from the bow. The etudes form the nucleus of the actor's training. Working on them, the actor practices the principles of biomechanics until he internalizes these principles as fundamental psychophysical paradigms.